talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. One, two, three, four. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? What was that? Hey, everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking on your... Sorry, I just read something in the chat. I apologize if the sound is bad or too low. I can't do much about it. StreamYard has totally destroyed my sound. And so I don't know what to do about it. But let me tell you about the vending machine murders. There's a lot of interesting things going on with the vending machine murders. Before we get started with that, please like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell. There's a lot of benefits we get if you like the show. Only costs you a click, or subscribe if you've never been here before. And it helps us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing, all-seeing algorithm. The other thing is we do have super chats. We do have memberships. We love it when people take advantage of those. And last but not least, if I put the begging bar up, there we go. It'll tell you how to turn on your gifted membership. Somebody may gift you one. Somebody named Julian Zeezer, as a matter of fact. And I guess Gilman picked one up. Wow, look at that. I love it when a plan comes together. And for that, Julian Zeezer will receive, hold on, it's here somewhere. I didn't have it preloaded. There we go. Julian Zeezer will receive the point. And thank you, StreamYard, for shrinking me super far down like I didn't want. I'd rather be like that. And that's where I was. But why should it just return to the same place? Why, that's silly. By the way, I did get a note from StreamYard because I complained like crazy about the automatic gain control. And they said, there's a temporary, and now I got to write them back a note that says, well, whatever you did, now my top volume of my microphone is half what it should be. So, Julian, that is true, Julian. You're welcome. Finally, someone gets one who actually listens. Well, I don't know what to say about that, other than it's true. Anyway, let's get through a few of your comments real quickly, and then I'm going to tell you about these crazy vending machine killings. They're crazy. Funky Bronco with his usual same thing he types every single time. Turkatron is here from the Pod Awful Cult. Stribs is here from the Pod Awful Cult. H2BH. H2BH right back at you. There's proof. Paused Up Patriot is here. Julian Zeezer, the philanthropist and well-known intellectual, says, greeting, Mr. Gulley. What do you got for my ear? Gilman is here. Gullarinos. Well, Julian, I have random cereal poisonings. Good to see you. Stribs is brewing up a cup of Gully. All those pictures. Which one is the real Tom Gulley? I don't know that there is a real Tom Gulley, Julian. Frankly, Doc says, ladies and gents, for your viewing entertainment, the man, the myth, the legend, Tom Stone Green Gulley. And I always have to say this. Stone Green is not a reference to illegal, in some places, stuff. It's that I am rated green, the highest rating, green, orange, red, and it's been carved in stone. I can never lose that rating from the NEAS Institute, not even a show, Institute. Gilman says, never heard of the VM killings. Hope it's not someone's Doritos got stuck and went insane. If only it was, Gilman. It's so awful. It's so awful. There's that gifted membership. Let's relive it together, shall we? Very, very, very nice of you, Julian. And even better that Gilman picked that up. That's great. That's great. So, let me tell you about the dreaded. See, why would it do that? Why wouldn't it just keep... Anyway, let me tell you about the vending machine killings. Some would say, why is it doing that? I was just here. Why would it make me tiny? Why? Is there any... Guys, we're going to start checking out Streamlabs. I'm sorry, I've had it. They've destroyed my microphone. I've had it. I've just had it. Judy Tester is here. Says, Gully time. It is. So anyway, the vending machine murders, not to be confused with the... Never mind. I was going to say something about a certain video streaming platform I'm not very happy with right now. These were a series of random, deadly poisonings of beverages carried out in Japan in 1985. The drinks were placed in and around vending machines, and it's more insidious than that, actually. And they were poisoned with paraquat dichloride, commonly, in your casual terms, referred to as paraquat. Most of the targeted beverages came from the same two drinks, and I'll tell you about those in a second. At least 13 people died from these poisonings, which took place from April to November in Japan. And 35 became seriously ill in what is most likely the deadliest product tampering case in history. And again, I hope my microphone sounds okay. It caused huge reaction. Warning labels on the 5.2 million vending machines across Japan. For those of you who don't know, Japan is huge on vending machines. They love vending machines. And most importantly, the police were unable to gather any evidence about these murders, and they remain unsolved. They never caught the person who did it, ever. Okay? So the first person that was poisoned, it happened on April the 30th, 1985, and the victim drank a bottle of Vitamin C, which was a vitamin energy drink that was left on top of a vending machine in Fukuyama. He fell ill and died a month later. Paraquat is highly toxic to humans, and it's mostly used as a herbicide to kill weeds, right? But it is very highly toxic to humans. Depending on the dose and how it's absorbed, it actually damages the mouth and the stomach and the intestines if it's digested orally. Once it's in the body, it just destroys the lungs and the kidneys and the liver. It's got something called a superoxide anions in it, and human lung cells can accumulate paraquat. So paraquat exposure has been strongly linked to the development of Parkinson's disease, by the way. And so paraquat, not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. They used to try and prevent the spread of the growing of marijuana by spraying it with paraquat, and that would kill people. So it would really, I think, as the hippies would say, harsh out their buzz quite a bit. So anyway, paraquat also a common way for people to delete themselves in Japan. Like 1,400 people used it for that. Now, at the time of the murders, okay, Atsuka Pharmaceutical, the company that made this drink, Vitamin C, had a special running, a promotion. Buy one, get one free. Some call it a BOGO. Yes. And this was because they weren't selling enough among young people. Now, the drink was very popular among middle-aged men in Japan, but so the evil killer that did all this, he took advantage of this promotion. He laced bottles of Vitamin C with paraquat, and he placed them in and around public vending machines to make customers think they got the promotion. So, see, a lot of times what would happen was that someone would buy one of these and two of them would come out of the machine. And a lot of people were like, well, I don't want two of them. They'd be in a busy business area or somewhere else. And they would leave one for someone else. That's the one that would be laced with paraquat, right? So Vitamin C and another energy drink, Real Gold, were the primary drinks targeted although I think one person died from drinking Coca-Cola. And also one of the poisonings used equally evil and poisonous substance called diquat instead of paraquat. On September 5th, 44-year-old executive Takashi Sakai drank 2 vitamin drinks, and he died 6 weeks later. On September 11th, 52-year-old Haru Atsu drank from a free bottle of Oronomin C in Tokyo and died 52 hours later. On September 25th, a man in Wakayama Prefecture was hospitalized after falling ill. And on September 26th, a 40-year-old woman in Shizuoka Prefecture fell ill. Now, either Takashi Sakai or a 17-year-old girl from Saitama were the last victims of these murders, okay? There you are. So, while the police had no leads, it was believed that the crimes were organized and executed by a single person. The police also noted how the crimes had no targeted or consistent victims, making it very difficult to establish a motive or potential motive. The culprit was never, ever caught on security cameras and left no physical evidence. 2 of the manufacturers of the most targeted soft drinks, Otsuka Pharmaceutical, and by the way, if you're buying a drink made by a pharmaceutical company, you might want to rethink that beverage, and Coca-Cola Japan said they had not received any threats or any extortion attempts. I think I do have a few comments here. Let's see. Doc says it was him. Pepsi got stuck and he went crazy. Let's see. People saying hi. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, as verified by independent sources. Chef says, chef in the house. It's good to see the chef. We always like to see him. People saying hi. People saying hi. People saying hi. And apparently funky, yeah. Let's see. People saying hi. People saying hi. Kind of. Talking about their manual labors. Funky says, I like hard workers. Julian Caesar says, after a month, how would you even know what you might have drunk? Well, that's the thing, Julian. You'd get sick from this really fast. You'd feel awful. You'd be in not a good spot. It just took a long, long time for it to finally, very slow, very not fun method of existence until a lack of existence. On September the 27th, the National Police Agency, and this is the building the National Police Agency is headquartered in, just because I couldn't find any pictures of them. They declared preparations for a nationwide campaign to prevent future poisonings, which included leaflets distributed throughout Tokyo. They warned customers to inspect vending machine slots, suspicious containers, and tampered beverage caps, and warned vending machine operators to check their merchandise, and they urged stores selling poisonous substances to clamp down on the substance's illegal buyers and keep accurate records. Now, at the time, in order to get paraquat in Japan, all you had to do was say that you were using it for gardening, and they would just hand it straight to you. So not much of a deterrent there. Japanese Soft Drink Bottlers Association spokesman Takeo Mizuchi, he actually blamed the victims. He said the customers should notice broken seals and said, if only consumers were more cautious, they would have seen that some tampering had been done. Well, despite that statement, Mizuchi issued 1.3 million warning stickers to be placed outside vending machines across the capital. Warnings were posted on many of Japan's 5.2 million vending machines by both vending machine operators and drink companies. Customers were advised to throw away any free drinks they got from the machines. The National Soft Drink Manufacturers Association placed warnings at advertisements in major newspapers. Vending machine manufacturers also plan to install lamps on dispensers that would light up if the slots were tampered with. Now, the Chicago Tribune reported that experts in various fields at the time of the murder speculated them to be a manifestation of Japan's orderly, intense, and work-oriented society, right? Oh, by the way, here's some security cameras that the guy didn't show up on. Hirakai Iowa, Tokyo professor of criminal sociology, said it's not uncommon for Japanese who live under tremendous pressure, both on the job and in crowded communities, to let their frustrations out by hurting someone else, insinuating that the crimes were an outlet of relief for the criminal. Additionally, Susuma Oda, a mental health specialist at the University of Tsukuba, suggested that the crimes be motivated by adrenaline rushes and a sense of superiority in imagining the victim's suffering. So, there you are. By December 8th, the spree had killed at least 10 people and made 35 seriously ill. In 2012, CBC News reported the death toll may have been as high as 12, which would make it possibly the deadliest product tampering case in history. It also was theorized that a number of the deaths were copycat killers or people attempting to poison themselves by imitating the murders. The case had no DNA evidence, and the culprit was never, ever caught. Although, if apprehended, they could still be held legally liable, as Japan abolished the statute of limitations for murder in 2010. In 1986, adjustments were made to paraquat and diquat to make it less toxic, although by 2002, it still accounted for 40% of pesticide poisoning deaths. A potential copycat crime happened in December of 1985, where containers of milk served in schools were tainted. In 1998, Japan had another wave of drink poisonings in vending machines as well as convenience stores. And there was also a case of paraquat poisoning in 2019 in the Akita prefecture. And that, ladies and gentlemen, in addition to the fact that this man still, or woman, still roams the streets today, is all I have to tell you about the Japanese vending machine murders. See here, Gilman says, I had to Google paraquat. It didn't have a toxic taste. No, it did not. It was apparently delicious. Jared says, happy to be here. Happy to be here, Jared. I had to mute Jared last night. He was talking to someone in Discord that I unmuted him after the conversation was over, but somebody else says happy to be here, but their screen name is something. Well, no, I can't put that screen name up here. Sorry, PPP beginning of the thing. I can't put it on the screen. I'm sorry. I am sorry. Strip says, Tom, will you go and visit Stella? Stella lives a long way from me. I don't think I can go visit her. From what it sounds like, I don't know if I might get beat up in her neighborhood. I have no objections to Stella, of course, but that's a long drive. So, no. Stella has enough things going on in her life, I'm sure, that a visit from me would not be welcome. Coach Mike Rodick is here. He says, hello to all my friends in chat. Oh, hey, Tom. Oh, hey, Coach. So, there. Now, the show is over far too soon. But then, can you imagine? They never found out who did this. And it went on for a long period of time. And it seems like it would have been relatively easy to avoid drinking a free beverage. But What do you know? Gilman says, Japan does have a lot of vending machines. Any comment on the used undergarments of ladies? No, I do not comment on that. Julian Caesar said, so what should we do? Best stick to aluminum cans since they're virtually tamper-proof. Well, I think even a drink like this one, if you open it up and there's no, don't drink it. Don't drink it. And after all, it has been 1980. I mean, that was, 40 years ago. And I don't know, do people... I don't notice that vending machines are as prevalent as they used to be, only because convenience stores are now more prevalent. That might have been a marketing tactic. They might have said, let's just put vending machines in areas where there couldn't possibly be a convenience store, because if you go into a convenience store, you got to remember companies like Coca-Cola, Mars, Pepsi, they have other products for sale in a convenience store. So maybe they're just trying to rope you in. I don't know. Aluminum cans, as the British say. That's how the British put it. By the way, tomorrow's show, I was going to ask you guys what you would like. I was thinking of doing a stand-up comic. Where's all my good pages about things? I was thinking Andy Kaufman or let's see here. Can't be Robert Klein. Bill Hicks, Andy Kaufman, Don Rickles. Bill Hicks, Andy Kaufman, Don Rickles. Or by the way, I'm doing Frauditors this week at some point as well. I think that's a good place to start. Bill Hicks, Andy Kaufman, or Don Rickles. Which would you like tomorrow? Which would you care for tomorrow? Is there anybody else? Oh, Sam Kinison. Let's throw Sam Kinison onto the list. So Sam Kinison, Bill Hicks, Andy Kaufman, or Don Rickles. I'll write all those down, so I'm going to have to search for them again. Don Rickles. Dan Rickles. There we go. There we go. You want one Andy Kaufman. Let's see, Tom, not to change the subject, but when you get to it, what did Rod Stewart mean when he mentioned Celtic United in one of his songs? Bad team. Excellent question. Let me read this other and I'll answer that question. You're exactly right, Tom. Gas stations had vending machines. Convenience stores did away with both. They kind of did. So, Celtic United, baby, I've decided you're the best team I've ever seen. Okay, what that means is that's actually two teams. He's talking about Celtic, which is Glasgow Celtic, and then he's talking about United, which at the time would have meant Manchester United, which were both very elite, very premier teams. What's, you're in my heart, you're in my soul. I think that's the name of that song. Let's see that. Okay. Let me get the lyrics for that sucker. So that would have been in 1977, I guess. I don't know when that song came out. Let me see where I can find that actual lyric. Yeah, it's two different teams. I thought that song came out sooner than 77. Let me see here, because by 77, I don't know that... No, it is 77. So maybe he's referring to older teams. I think in 77, Celtic was probably a strong team, but United, he's probably referring to the great Manchester United teams of the days of Georgie Best and Dennis Law and the like. So, or maybe not. I could be wrong about both of those things, but those are the two teams he's probably referring to. It's two teams. So it's your Celtic and then another team. United, baby, I've decided you're the best team I've ever seen. So two teams. What happened to the Petcock show? You want me to do a show on Petcocks? I might have been joking about that. I don't know if I can trust a vending machine anymore, nor should you. Julian says, Googled it and it didn't show up. Yeah, there's no Celtic United. There's Glasgow Celtic, whose main rivals are Glasgow Rangers. And then there's Manchester United, and everybody is their rival. The Wolf is here. He says, hello, all you fine, crazy people. If you broadcast it, we will come. And people saying hi to the Wolf. So we got another half hour to go here. I'm going to have to vamp for half an hour. Okay. Please like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell. Especially like and especially subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. Share is always good because you are a smart and influential person. And I believe that you people spreading the show and saying, hey, give this a listen, other people will go, why, that Gill man knows his stuff. I should subscribe or listen to the show. Anyway. Also, we have memberships and super chats. That helps us pay the bills around here, which is really important, especially when StreamYard destroys your microphone. I spent all weekend trying to get this microphone to go back up to its full thing, and it hasn't. And so I'll have to spend all day tomorrow, probably. Anyway. And then also, please turn on your gifted memberships. It tells how in the crawl at the bottom of the screen. I guess I can put on the phone lines because we won't have the phone lines in a couple weeks. I ought to just get rid of them now, be honest with you. I think it's easier just to put up the link, you know? Probably easier just to do that. Gilman's got a horsey there. That's cool. People saying hi. The Wolf says hi to the entire room. And again, you guys are going to have to tell me. I mean, I'm going back and listen after the show's over, but tell me if the microphone sounds exceptionally bad. I don't think it did anything other than make it half the volume. I've pumped the volume way up. I still don't think it's loud enough, but that's what they do. Okay, so Julian Zezer said he knew a guy who had a part-time job loading vending machines, and he told me he could steal $1 from each machine without the counter registering it. I wouldn't doubt that. There's some guy online who's got vending machines, mostly Coke machines, and washer and dryer, a bunch of coin-operated things that he empties and shows you every week. He makes a lot of money. That passive income, I guess they call it. I guess that's what the kids are calling it these days. So tomorrow, would you like Andy Kaufman, Bill Hicks, Sam Kinison, or Don Rickles? If nobody's going to vote, then I'll just pick it myself. I'll just do that myself. Somebody left me a thing about the sensational Alex Harvey band, the best band that no one knows. You know, I've heard that a lot of times about that exact band. And I've heard them, and phone lines are open at 972-994-6822 if you'd like to call in. if you'd like to call in. Actually, they're open even if you don't want to call in, to be honest with you. To be completely honest with you. So, everybody saying hi to everybody. And Julian Caesar says the mafia owned most of the vending machines in Philadelphia back in the day. At least it was a big scam they used to run, getting people to buy vending machine routes, then fleecing them. Everything. I don't know who he's talking to there. Oh, boy. Hold on just a second. Let me see if I can. I got it. Hi, and welcome to the Tom Gulley Show. You're on the air.
Listen here, brother. I'm going to tell you something, Tom Gulley, Mr. Gulley. I don't like you. I don't like your family. I don't like your mother. I don't like your father. I don't like your brothers and sisters. Let me tell you something. I'm coming for you, Tom Gulley.
Get in line. You guys are listening. You're gonna have to tell me if he's 9,000 times louder than me. This StreamYard has just destroyed my computer. So, Gilman says, "Have you ever done a rap show? Run DMC Beasties." I haven't, but Gilman, thank you for the $1.99. Here's your point, and I will consider it. I'll consider it. Do you have a favorite rap group, Wolf?
Rap?
That's what I thought. I'm kind of a big. I like.
Good joke.
I like Tupac, Biggie, and Big Daddy Kane. I thought you liked Rappin' Rodney.
Rodney. That guy was so funny.
Yeah. Funky wants Doc to be on the phone. He says that call was boring. He says Wolfie has good jokes. Gilman says, was that feeble Hulk Hogan?
No, that's every one of them combined.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I liked Big Jim Duggan. Tough guy.
I was always more interested in hearing the announcers like Gordon Soley.
Who was the guy? Was it Connie Mark? Gosh, dog it. The referee. Connie, I think he was married to Ruth Roman for a while.
Oh, what was his name? You're right on the first name. I can't remember his last name.
And I was told that Bud Moss Rossman, he must have had a different name for his wrestling endeavors. I think it was Connie Barker. And he said that when he would go buy a suit of clothing, he would have to buy two because one of them were going to be ripped off of him during the show. But
I used to see those guys on Vegas trips.
Yeah,
it'd be like all of the guys who were supposed to be mortal enemies. One time it was Dusty Rhodes and I think his first name was Barry Windham. And they're playing slots together.
Here we
go.
I
said, wait, I thought you guys were mortal enemies, and they started laughing too.
It's Connie. His real name was Constantine Aristotle Connie Marker, known as the Golden Greek and the Dean of Wrestling Referees.
The Dean of Wrestling.
Yes, he was the Dean of Wrestling Referees. And he was a prominent figure in the WWA and AWA. And I think, Wolf, the one we watched as kids on Channel 4 was the AWA.
Yeah.
And passed away on December 31st, 2010. He was also a life member of the American Legion and veteran of foreign wars. He was noted for his professionalism and respect for the wrestling industry, a true gentleman that made everyone feel good. He ran a restaurant in Richmond, Indiana, and he's remembered fondly by those who knew and respected him. Well, of course, you're remembered fondly by those who,
My dad, that used to come to our junior high school every year, and we had photos of some of them missing, on a drop kick, missing the guy's face, and we'd laugh about that. One time, we were watching Dick the Bruiser and his cousin Crusher, who actually was from Bainbridge, Indiana.
Yes.
Part of which my great-grandfather owned, I think at one time, he owned 500 acres, and I think he owned a quarter of that county or something. But my dad, he said, "Doggone that Bruiser." And I looked at him and I said, "What?" And I forgot that Bruiser was a Packer.
Oh, yeah.
And so one of our Pee Wee head coach was a Packer from Bruiser's time, and my dad played against Bruiser. And all those guys that, how the Bears and everything are all enemies now, but in those days they were all buddies. So Bruiser, he said, I said, "What do you mean, doggone that Bruiser?" He said, "Oh, he got me front row tickets one time and ruined my brand new silk shirt by getting blood all over. He split somebody's head."
Yeah. Well,
but, they all hung out together, had beers, before they went out and all kinds of stuff.
Well, and his real name was Dick Afflis, and he for a while had a place in Indy. This in this little neighborhood.
I think he had 2 bars.
You could just drive.
Maybe 3.
He would be out there cutting his lawn, and you could drive by and say hi to him, and he'd stop and talk to you. And Mike Rodick says, "My favorite wrap is the Southwest chicken wrap from the Quick Trip stores." That's useful information. Wolfie probably did all sorts of crazy stuff in Vegas, says Funky Bronco, your biggest fan. Gilman says, "What about Dave Russell and Lance Brown? They were commentators for Memphis Wrestling with Jerry the King Lawler and
Jerry the King Lawler."
He's a jerk. That guy's a real jerk. And Andy Kaufman, the former intergender champion of wrestling. Melva Bumpus says, "Tom Gulley stole the radio/tape deck out of my grandmother's Studebaker." You did? You don't have any proof of that. So
who saw him do it? Is there any evidence?
Yeah, there's no proof of that. But Crusher, was Bruiser's cousin, I think, or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they were cousins.
Tim Jenkinson says, "Jerry the Jerk." And what did Tim Jenkinson want me to do a show on or something? I forget, because I did it. What was he talking about last week? He's talking about something last week that I paid off on. I can't remember. Dang it, I can't remember what it was now. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't either.
I can't. Darn it. What? He's talking about something that...
one of the funny things too is that those guys used to play 4 different guys.
Oh yeah,
and they would just in the beginning, Dad was talking about being down in he got because he played pro and the guys knew him. He got some extra perks, so he's talking about being down there, and they would in the beginning, I think Bruiser was 2 or 3 different guys, and they would just put a mask, put one of those Lucha Libre masks on, and then go out there and roll around.
And they'd be different guys in different areas of the country. They'd have a different name and all that. Julian Zizzer says, "I don't know much about rap, but I sure am glad breakdancing is in the Olympics. It's about time, I say." Yeah, that was great. Oh, that's it. Tim Jenkins said the travel videos. Tim Jenkinson,
Yeah.
I showed not only the Cranky Travels with Tom, but the Dallas Cowboy Stadium visit. And on the members only show next week, and by the way, these are all privated. These are all private. You will never ever see these anywhere else. I will show 2 more of the private videos. One of them I know is going to be my return to Texas. I went away for a very brief period of time and returned, and that will be shown.
Is the Dallas interview the one where you made fun of Jerry Jones?
It is. It's the one where I ate the Jerry burger that tasted like, ugh. I thought this is a vending machine show. Well, it is, and it was funky. He looks a lot like Brock Lesnar, says Tim Jenkinson. No, the Bruiser just looks, well, he looks to me like a fire hydrant, but
Bruiser doesn't look like anybody else.
No, he doesn't. Gilman says, did you guys see Jerry Lawler having a heart attack live on WWE? I have seen that video. I have seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, well, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Was it a triumphant return to Texas? Well, it's not so much funky, and Tim Jenkinson will back you up on this. It's not so much the return and actually getting where you're going. It's how awful I am during the travel portion. I can't handle being around the public. If I know somebody, I'll put up with all of their little quirks but random people in public in transit, I don't enjoy that much. So that's what that whole video was about. And a guy threw a guy threw trash on me. The guy threw trash on me when I was sitting at the gate. He missed a trash
on the bus.
He missed a trash can and was trying to throw, and he wasn't even paying attention because he kept walking, and hit me with like a sandwich with lettuce and everything else all over me. And I had words.
Was this your train trip?
No, this was a different trip. This was when I was going to Indy for the Gene Cady Memorial Golf Tournament, which will definitely be one of the videos that I show during the members only on Sunday. So anyway, yeah, that's right. Tim Jenkinson. Now everyone can agree that Tom should have a TV travel show. Then he insulted you with $5. Yeah, he came back after I stopped him. I go, are you aware that you just threw trash all over me? And he, no, I didn't know. Well, now you are. Why didn't you wake up? Huh? You know, and then I went and sat back down, and he came over and he offered me $5, which made me 20 times more mad. I'm like, did you and your wife sit down and get together and like
$5
figure out that my personal dignity is worth $5? What did you decide? You know, you could give me 10 and then you could spit on me too. What? Anyway, what were you saying, Wolf? I'm sorry.
I spilled a drink on a kid. Did I tell you that story?
I don't know. I've only heard the first 4 words.
I was with the hair model, Katie Davis, who's the daughter of one of the old, I forget which, 49ers offensive linemen, but anyway, they lived in Del Mar on the golf course. So we're at a Chargers game. She's a big Chargers fan. We're at a Raiders game at the stadium at the Coliseum. And Dove's with me, and I think, who was with us besides just Dove? We were tailgating, and Dove had brought the binoculars, which is basically they look like binoculars, but it's actually a whiskey flask.
Yes.
And we were spiking, Coke with whiskey, and there was a good play. We were watching, sitting there. I was making fun of her ex-boyfriend who was playing defensive end for the Raiders and was just terrible. And I, raised my hand up to make a gesture and knocked, I think it was Dobe. Dobe was starting to weave a little bit and had sort of gotten into my space, which isn't all that hard to do. And I had knocked his drink on this little kid behind me. And so at halftime, because how sticky you get when you got soda that dries on you and all that. So I was like, that just didn't sit well with me. So I went at halftime. I bought him an actual Raiders replica jersey for Stabler. That was, it was probably a couple $100. And I got it because he was a kid. I got it a couple of sizes too big so he could continue to wear it as he got older. But I tossed it to him, and he and it freaked him out, first of all, because who does that for other than an athlete or somebody that thinks like that. Nobody in the stands is going to do something like that. So he looked down at it kind of funny, like, what the. And then he looked up at me, and I said, "Here you go, kid. Change it." It's kind of like Mean Joe Green.
Mean Joe, yeah.
And I started laughing when I thought about that. And then, I sat down, and he just looked at me like, "Oh, my God." Like, I said, "Boy, you never see anybody do something for somebody else?" And I went back to watching the game.
Well...
But I thought, oh, here we go, Mean Joe Green.
I'm not proud of this story. I don't even know if I should tell it, but I'm gonna. When I was probably like 19 or 20 years old, I was driving south on Keystone in Indianapolis, and I was going 54th Street, dead ends, so there's no light there. And there was a guy that kept cutting me off. And I was driving a junker, and he was driving a really nice car. But it was a very hot day, or maybe it was one of the first warm spring days. And he had a really nice car. And he was yelling at me and this and that. And I imagine my junker car probably wasn't going fast enough for him. But it would get up to speed, and then whatever. So we start going down this one stretch. Now, I had stopped at Taco Bell and gotten this gigantic Mountain Dew.
You threw a big gulp on his vehicle.
No, on. I mean, I was like, it was, I never played quarterback, and I never played much football. But, the pitch out. So I'm in the right lane. He's in the left lane, and he's coming by me, and his windows were all down, and I just perfect lob through his window because he was going. I was almost to a stop. I was enough ahead of him, and I just lobbed it, and it just all over Mountain Dew all over his. It was like a caddy or something. That's terrible. I felt bad about it ever since then, but
but you know what? Chuck used to do that all the time here when we were in traffic. Somebody cut him off. He always had a big gulp when we were in that Jeep, and he would toss that big gulp out onto their vehicle.
Well, I mean, on is one thing, but this thing just kind of exploded all over the place. And I took that right down this little neighborhood there was no real outlet. It dead ends, like not even a mile down the road, but you can go back in these little catacombs of neighborhoods, and I sort of snaked around and got where I was going, but that was terrible of me. But I often thought about that guy's entire vehicle was just covered with the most sticky, awful.
Oh,
but you know what? He was cutting me off. He was driving real dangerously. He was brake checking me like mad. Yes, Tim Jenkinson. It did have ice. But
he got what most people would say. Well, he screwed with the wrong guy and got what he had coming.
He was making me real mad though, because I think at the time I had like a Pinto. It's like a 73 Pinto with a manual transmission. And so that thing at first, it took, you had to, the first gear didn't go very fast. And, so it took you a little longer than most cars. So he was in some kind of hurry or something. But this started up at 96th Street. And he was yelling stuff at me. And I'm just like shrugging, like, go around, So now he hates the Dew. I love Mountain Dew Zero. But anyway, that's about it.
Big John and I. Well, it's hard for me to remember exactly when this was, because John had this knee injury from Dallas and couldn't straighten his leg out still after having surgery.
Right.
And we're both home. We're driving through DePaul's campus, and we passed by the Beta House, and these guys were in his Chevy pickup, and these guys swooped through and cut us off and yell a bunch of crap at us, and then John does a power slide in the middle of the road and stops them.
Bunch of jerks.
And gets out, and on one leg he's picking the vehicle up and letting it drop, and picking it up and letting it drop. And we're right next to him, and I've got my arm out, and that's probably 22 at that time. And I said, I don't know what you guys thought you were doing, but it turns out that it probably wasn't a very good decision. And they, oh my gosh, sir, we're so sorry. We thought you were one of our frat brothers. And John goes, yeah, right. One of your frat brothers driving a Chevy pickup truck. And I said, look, I understand that you've made a grievous error. In the future, you might want to be careful who you yell profanities at and flip off and then swerve into, because it could be a couple of very large, angry men who might just turn your vehicle over. And the guy goes, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, no, sir. And John gets back into, limps back into the truck, and we take off. And I'm just cracking up laughing. They were terrified.
I can still remember every detail of that. Like it must have been a 64 ounce, or it's at least 32. My hand wouldn't reach around it that good, and I just lobbed it, and I can remember seeing it hit his seat and him, and the look on his face as he just recoiled, and he kept speeding down the road, and I took my turn real quick and ski-daddled on out of there. I was going to visit a friend, and I even remember the shirt I was wearing. I remember everything about it, and to this day I feel really bad about that. I mean, it's like,
well, I can tell you, it's burned into your memory, just like me lobbing cheeseburgers onto the Sigma Chi's, and
hey,
I'm not sorry for that.
I don't think you should be. The Sigma Chi's probably enjoyed those burgers. The Betas are the jerks.
And Chief is now the house mother for the Sigma Chi house. I started cracking
Well,
up.
good for him. And then Tim Jenkinson, after I went ahead and showed the travel video on my members only show, he has to point out another draw for Arsenal at the weekend. Yeah, at home to Bournemouth. And I think it was at home. I didn't even watch it. I didn't watch the highlights either. I was so disgusted. Arsenal's just mailing it in the league now. It's like, who cares? Because we've got, I think it's on Wednesday, is it? I think Wednesday. We've got, Real Madrid in the second half of our home and away with them in the Champions League. And it's like, everybody's like, oh, we beat Real Madrid, on we go. Yeah, it's Wednesday. And we're ahead 3-0. So they have to beat us by, 4 goals to go through without penalty kicks. And so it's, my whole point is, Real Madrid might not be on the best form right now, and we're only at the quarterfinals. We still two stages, you're right. They need to get someone to get them more goals. Yeah, I've been saying that for 2 years. And then he says, the league isn't worth fighting for now. The gap is huge. It's not worth fighting for, but the old Arsenal with Arsene Wenger, or even Emery or anybody else, you beat Bournemouth at home. You can't keep having drops in performance like that and say, oh well, it's only the league, and then expect to be competitive in the midweek. You can't.
And what happened to self-respect?
Well, that and just this is a team we should be able to beat. Not that Bournemouth is terrible, but Arsenal is second in the league. Bournemouth is eighth. It's like, no, that's if you want to be a champion, and that was at home. At home. It's like, no, that's a match you have to win. You had the lead. You got to
be who you're supposed to be.
You had the lead. You could have just locked it down, but no. Anyway, so let's see. Jenkinson says Everton are above Man United and Spurs. I never would have guessed that at the start of the season. I would trade coaches with you right now. David Moyes is a great coach, always has been. And he didn't get a fair shake at United. And look what he did with West Ham. Granted, his last season there wasn't sterling, but there were injuries and all of his best players got bought, which always happens. But, I have nothing against Everton at all. Anyway, know that. What else is up? Because I got to go. I'm really hungry.
That old vending machine.
Yeah.
They still had the place that I dirt biked out at the quarry. They still had a Coke machine that had glass bottled Coke in it.
Yeah.
I was like, where did they get these? Because now it's like, the thing that it's an in thing to have.
Yeah.
But they're not the same. They're weird looking, off-size things.
Yeah.
And these were like the Coke bottles that you used to get when I was a kid. I was like, where in the heck are they getting these from?
Yeah. Well, they were always available, just hard to find. That little Fort Wayne's famous Coney Island hot dog restaurant, they've had the little bottles for forever of Coke. But, yeah, vending machines, you just don't see them as much. Now, they have them in workplaces. But on the streets, you just see like a random Coke machine outside of a school or just anywhere. There'd just be a Coke machine, and
Well, I think they kind of
or Pepsi.
I thought they passed something against having.
They did the schools.
Yeah.
They did.
Once they found out they weren't the healthiest thing in the world.
But you know what? They always find a way around that. It's like, what are you going to serve them? Stuff they won't eat or drink? And there's always that kid that brings a backpack full of whatever you're not supposed to have at school. Remember the kid that would sell bubble yum, or some sort of hard to find new craze candy? Be selling it for 10 times its price on the street just because it was at school.
Well, we didn't have to do that because we didn't have a closed campus. And as I've said before, Andy Shillings would crawl out the window and run down to McDonald's and then come back.
Oh yeah, we had closed campus big time. Well, not in high school, but it was so hard to leave and get food and come back in time. From our high school, but you could run down to the local convenience mart or something else. I never left for went off campus, maybe once or twice, because it was just such a pain to get back in time. But I do remember.
That's why
we had a little
ate so fast.
Well, we had a little concession.
Because I ran home every day.
We had a little concession stand that was open at lunchtime. And it had just every bit as much. Now, there was no gum because, school doesn't want any kind of gum. It'll be stuck on the bottom of desks and stuff.
Reasons.
But it had everything you could otherwise get. It had, Skittles and Now and Laters and every thing that would rot your teeth out, and cookies and everything else. So, but that was also back before they were afraid to put huge amounts of butter and sodium in the school lunch. The school lunches tasted a little better back then, because when I was teaching out in Utah, at the I would bring my lunch or walk to the grocery store, which is right across the street, when I first got there and was at the elementary. But when I was at the middle school and high school, there weren't many places you could do that. So I actually ate lunch most days at the school. And those lunches were not bad, and they were pretty darn cheap. For $2.35 or 75 cents, whatever it was a darn good deal. That's all I'll say. Some days I do have to admit, I'd walk in there and see what they had and just go, nah. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I that's why I ate so fast, because basically from grade school on, I ran home. I was always within, a mile or mile and a half of the school. When I was in junior high school, it was like 3 blocks, depending on how you did it. But basically 3 blocks from my house.
I never thought to go home. I lived close enough that I probably could have, but it never once, because I know if I did, I would have gotten the whole, what are you doing here? That would have taken up half of my food time.
Of course, now I was a speed merchant, so naturally
yes.
I could run in a half an hour. I could easily run home, eat, and then run back.
Yes,
be on time.
Well, you were quick-footed and athletic, and
I exhibited extreme athleticism.
And you're a real stick of dynamite. You were a real stick of dynamite.
I was really small, really small, but quite frankly, I was a real stick of dynamite. Very explosive.
Tim Jenkinson says school food wasn't the best here. It's good to know that crosses the pond. It wasn't the greatest where we were. There were certain days, Tim, where we'd have something like pizza or a pizza burger. There were certain things in the school lunch that you were like, yes, it's one of those days. But there were a lot of days. I even liked the Johnny Marzetti. I didn't really have a problem with a lot of the school. But sometimes they'd have those turkey slices or something, and it'd be like, okay.
Oh, nothing like slick meat for lunch.
Julian
fried slick meat on white bread with mustard on it.
Julian Zezer says, when I was in school, there was a scandal when the kids saw a cardboard box in the cafeteria kitchens that said beef, low grade but edible. I imagine that would do it. Tim Jenkinson says, I remember one kid had a mashed potatoes with a dead spider in it. Yow. We never had that. Now we had these rolls. Remember when we get those rolls, like those dinner rolls? They were so good.
It came in a package and full of sugar, of course. That's why
No. They were just big, fluffy, warm. You put butter on them. Dinner, God, I love those. I wish I could get those now. But I like the pizza. It was pretty good. The pizza burger was pretty good. Sometimes they'd have a chicken sandwich that wasn't too bad. Or the hamburger, there was no beef in that at all. I mean, that was just like a minced. The hamburgers at our school lunches were like the kind you microwave out of a machine from a gas station. They tasted nothing like beef. Nothing. I remember in high school, they would occasionally give you 2 hot dogs. That wasn't a bad lunch, I guess. But there was a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff broccoli and everything else. I just wouldn't even touch it. I'd be like, yeah, I'm not eating that.
I don't even. I think the only time I ate lunch was when my girlfriend wanted me to eat lunch there. Yeah. Otherwise, I ran home every day.
Did you have pizza burger? Because Tim Jenkinson's asking about it. Our pizza burger was like a hamburger, but it had like some pizza-ish seasonings in it. And then instead of regular cheese, it had a big disc of fake mozzarella. and then maybe just a little bit of tomato sauce on the top of it. But
Yeah, I don't remember.
Victor says,
I think, and I wrestled too, so your lunch was like an apple or something crazy, because they're trying to make me cut weight down to 167 from 198 pounds.
Well, Victor says when I was in first grade, the blue-haired teacher would slap you on the hands with a yardstick just for talking. Yeah, there's a little of that going on.
Ours was one of those little paddle ball paddles and Big John was like 5'10" or something in kindergarten, and he would just see, and he was, oh my gosh, he was always in trouble. One instance, we'd get in trouble together, but they'd never mess with me. They would always go after John, because he was the bad kid.
Yeah.
And she took us into the boys' bathroom or something, and I distinctly remember that it was because he beat up Lonnie Davis for pissing his pants. And she paddled him with that little, with the ball, and the string was gone, and she was just using that as her paddle. And he laughed. He just laughed at her.
Well, that was the thing is, they started at a certain age. You'd have to go down to the principal's office, and the principal always had this legendary, almost like a cricket bat, but it was more flat, like a paddle, and it had holes drilled in it because supposedly that would let him get more speed or whatever. And Tim Jenkinson says, I think they should give teachers more power. Julian says, bring back the dunce cap. Tim Jenkinson says, since kid realized the teachers can't do anything, it's just chaos. But there were certain teachers at the school that you just knew, man, you don't want that guy to paddle you. And then there was those kids that knew they were going to get paddled, so they'd put a whole bunch of, they'd ask like 2 or 3 other guys for their wallets and put them in the back of their pants.
Yeah.
And that never worked. Not once in the history of school. They just say, get those wallets out of your back pocket.
Our junior high art teacher was like I think she was 4'10" or something.
Yeah.
And probably weighed like 70 pounds. And Bruce Willis, who was held back. Imagine that, you're held back in junior high school.
Oh boy.
And he caused a problem, and of course, and she asked for a volunteer, and of course I said, I do.
Oh man.
And I got about 4 inches from his butt and just let it rip and knocked him to his knees, quivering and moaning.
Well, we didn't have a liberal policy like that, and not that many kids got paddled. I mean, it had to be a bad thing for you to get paddled, but there was a lot of yelling and threatening, But Victor says, I got threatened with being paddled in high school, ran laps instead, something stupid, don't remember, but yeah, we really, after junior high, I don't think they even wanted to paddle you then. They'd rather suspend you, make you stay home.
Yeah.
They just get you out of the, get out of my hair. I don't need to paddle you. And that's back also when, corporal punishment in schools was being phased out. But my parents tell stories of just, kids getting the tar beat out of them in class. They wouldn't wait for the principal or anybody else. They would just go all crazy in class, right in front of everyone, But whatever.
Well, I had for study hall, I had Charmin Garmin. We called him because I called him that because he was soft like a roll of toilet paper.
Like Charmin toilet paper? Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Whipple.
And we called it Vietnam too, because people were always throwing things and getting hit with stuff, and
Yeah.
There was penny throwing. I forget who. It might have been Lance Terry that did that. Who got a ticket for going out of his way to hit a puddle and splash a pedestrian, and always drove the Deathmobile at the Indy 500 to crash the gate.
Yeah.
Lance, I think, started throwing the pennies or something. And someone threw one and it hit me, and I said, "That's it." And I just stood up. I didn't care if I was seen doing it or not, obviously, being me.
Yeah.
And I threw the penny and hit the guy that I knew threw it. So Garmin calmly walks back to me and says, "Kim, you need to go in the office." I said, "Charmin, no, I don't."
Charmin.
He hit me with the penny. I hit him. I'm not going anywhere. If anyone's going, he's going. He's not going, then neither am I.
Yeah.
And I sat back down and went back to what I was doing. He looked for a second. He looked around, and then he walked back to his little desk, and that was the end of
Yeah,
it.
well, that's probably the easiest solution. That's the path of least resistance. But anyway. All right, I think I'm closing this thing down. I think that'll do it.
Yeah,
I think I've had
you
enough.
should probably start using the link thing. It takes me forever to get mine to even work, to get on. And I had issues with it last week. I was trying to use Brave, and it just wouldn't work. Every time I tried to, now you can do, you can comment to people that are on the panel or people in the chat. You can bring that up. Every time I tried to bring up the chat, it would just crash. I was like, "Oh, crap." So finally I just had to forget about it. And Stanley was like, "Well, what happened?" And I said,
Well,
"I don't know,
we
man. It
don't
just kept crashing."
we don't talk about any of those people anymore on this channel.
What people?
Those people you just mentioned.
Well, what happened?
Well, let's just say they transgress the unwritten law, and thus they will not be mentioned anymore on this program, nor will I appear on their little channel ever again. Take that to the bank. Ever again. So
I don't know what the unwritten law is, but you can tell me later.
I'll tell you later. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of one other time went, nah, but this time, nope, not ever going to happen again, ever. So, and it will be very difficult for any of them to remain here. That'll be a case-by-case basis. Victor says, maybe that's why I was threatened with paddling. I got even with the bullies. Maybe. It's always a thing. But anyway, hey, man, thanks for calling in. And I hope you have a fine rest of your day. And I'm starving.
Yeah, I get you. I just finished plowing down some rotini, the ones that look like little coils.
Yeah.
With Italian sausage and my own extremely hot sauce that I like to consume with it. So,
well done. I'm gonna do some other stuff. Is it pizza burgers tonight, Tom? No, I'm having Earl Campbell's.
I was getting ready to say
hot. It was the cheese ones, the cheese-filled ones. The Earl Campbell's Red Hots with the cheese. And some, probably some cottage cheese along with that. But anyway.
I sure would like to have some of them sausages.
Sausages.
How's about sharing one of them tasty sausages?
Well, if you were here, you could have some of them. I've only got 3 of them left. I'm making all of them, so and they're big. So Victor just had a Red Baron's mini pizza. Those are really good, the deep dish kind. And then sounds like a Jamaican sprinter's name, Earl Campbell. No, he's bad. When I say bad, I mean good. American football.
Bad man.
He was a bad man. Was just Tim Jenkinson. The show's ending right now, so you should go to YouTube and type in Earl Campbell NFL and watch some of the highlights of this man.
You might want to skip the one where Jack Tatum and he meet. That didn't go so well. Although he did score a touchdown, even though he got knocked out.
Yeah, about to say. And also, he was like a runaway freight train. Just had a big bowl of Louisiana. You guys are just making me hungry now. Is all that's happening. That's
I'm
all that's
still on
happening.
the verge of trying to make fudge with.
Okay.
I thought this time I would add some cream cheese to it to see what that would do, but
Now stop it. I didn't go to the grocery store Saturday because I got so much stuff here that has been here for a long time because it's stuff I don't really want to eat. And I said, well, this week,
stuff you don't want to eat.
this week, well, it's just kind of like to have, to stock up for stuff. But I've avoided it long enough that it's obviously not the stuff I really want to eat. It's just stuff that's okay to eat. And so I said, this week, I'll have no other choice but to eat all this stuff. And so I don't have any stuff like fudge or cookies or whatever. Because, see, every year at this time, I have about 20 pounds to drop from the winter. And that's
you and me both.
That's the process I'm beginning here this week. And 3 weeks from now, I'll be fine again. But right now, so yeah, I've got to eat those Earl Campbells and yeah. So anyway, thanks for calling in, man. It's always good to hear from you.
Good night, Daddy.
Bye. That's the wolf. You see him on the screen right there. He's funny. He's a good man. And as answer to his question about needing to get rid of to just use the link, yeah, we're going to be doing that. I feel like we have to use Skype for as long as we can because it's going to be good. Victor says was never part of the in crowd in school. I'm in with the in crowd. I go where the in crowd goes. Anyway. And paused up Patriot laughing. Hey man, thanks for everybody for being here. Especially want to thank Julian Zeezer for giving out that gifted membership. And I want to thank Gilman for the $1.99. We really, really appreciate all the support. We're really trying to grow the show here. And StreamYard, of course, doesn't want us to, but we'd like to. And Tim Jenkinson says, take care, Tom. Have a great day tomorrow. You do the same thing, my man. And tomorrow we're just going to do Don Rickles. Tomorrow is Don Rickles. There you are. That's what we're going to do. Had good teachers. Thank you to the teachers. I was a teacher for a while. So with all that being said, let's get that no good son of a gun off the screen. Anyway, oh boy. With all that being said, I didn't do the whole spiel. That old clock on the wall says, like the Reverend Al Green, it's time for me to get up on out of here. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And, oh man, Julian Caesar saying goodbye. Teachers should be paid more than politicians. You got that right. Anyway, till next time, we'll see you next time.
1, 2, 3, 4. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. talking about?